You know, when I look around at all the entrepreneurs who are grinding it out, spending 70 to 80 hours per week growing their business, you have to ask yourself the question, at what cost? Hi, my name's Tim Uchuk, and in this podcast, we're going to be exploring the tools, tactics, and strategies for crushing it and scaling your business without making the ultimate sacrifice of your time and freedom. What's up, everyone? Tim Uchuk here, and I hope you're having an awesome day wherever you are and whenever you're listening to this. I am coming to you from the mountains. I'm currently driving. If you heard my last episode yesterday, I woke up at 4:30, caught the ferry, spent the day in Vancouver, and today I am heading further inland in BC, British Columbia. So I'm in the mountains right now, and I wanted to talk to you today in this episode about a framework that has served me extremely well in building out my ideal teams in my business. And it's such a great framework because when you have a framework, it helps you just really think strategically. It helps you answer questions and solve problems because you have a good kind of 30,000 foot overview. You know, you're making decisions because there's a rhyme to the reason. And frameworks are really helpful for that. And the framework I want to share with you today is something that I call the Viking ship analogy framework when it comes to building out a great culture and great teams in your business. And if you own a business and at some point in time in your life you want to have a sellable asset, not that you want to sell your business, but if you have a business that doesn't rely and everything has to go through you, you've got yourself a sellable asset, meaning that it's not just going to be valued based on your assets or a customer list. It's valued based. There's going to be a lot more blue sky if you have a functioning, thriving system that can transcend you. And so using the Viking ship analogy will help you to put that into place. And so let's just unpack that a little bit and just think for a moment that we're going back a couple hundred years. We're going back to the times of the Vikings. And you're putting together a crew of people who are going on a voyage, a long, long voyage, and you want that voyage to be successful. Now, using that analogy in your business, one of the first things that you're going to want to do is find the right people to be in that ship, because if you're spending weeks and or months in a ship with people, you probably want to have the right people in that ship with you, and you probably want to repel the wrong people. So with this in mind, how do you do that? Well, the vehicle that has really, really served me well, and I can't speak enough about this, is core values, establishing core values in your business. Because when you hire, so again, when we create job ads within our business for any role, we put first and foremost our core values, because we want to really attract people who are attracted to the core values, and I'll talk about some of them in a moment here. But you also want to repel people who aren't a good fit, and that's really important because you want certain attributes in your Viking ship, right? So I'll give you some examples here. One of our core values, and this will make sense as we get into it, is results-only work environment. So why is that important to have? Well, just as in sports, if you want a business that is going to be successful, you want to have people that are less fixated on politicking, looking busy. You want to say, like, if you're able to get a desirable result in 2 hours versus 20 hours, it's not the busyness that we reward. It's at the end of the day the results. Think about sales. Think about any part of your business. We focus in on the results. We don't focus in on how busy were you. So that's one of our core values. Another one is happiness first. So we want people who come in with batteries included, and we're very forthright in that we want to have a great atmosphere of, we don't want assholes working with us, because we spend a lot of time. Oftentimes, your team will spend as much, if not more, time at the office than with their families. So we really want to have an environment, and this is directly related to your level of turnover. If you have a team of great people and you go about building that intentionally, it's going to pay off in dividends in the long run. So happiness first is another one of ours. We serve is another one. Now, why is this core value important? It's important to me because one thing I hated hearing in the past was, that's not my job. It's not my job. So a customer will call up and ask something, and the response is, well, that's not my problem. That's not my job. And I remember going on a Disney cruise years ago, and it doesn't matter who you talk to at Disney, you've probably experienced this. If you have a question or a problem, they are trained to, they might not have the answer, but they will escort you to someone until that loop is closed and the handoff has been successful. And so that is a behavior that we want to cultivate. And so that is we serve. And so when we're hiring, we're very upfront about that stuff. And once you're hired and onboarded, we actually there is a rewards-based system all around our core values. So we don't just print a poster and put it up on the wall. We actually celebrate and reward and talk about through a system that we use, our core values. And so getting back to the Viking ship analogy, how do you get the right people in your ship for your voyage? Through core values. And you got to walk your talk. And it's just a side note, if you are the leader, if you're the entrepreneur at the top of your organization and you establish core values in your organization, it goes without saying that you can't be a hypocrite. So you're going to have to walk your talk. Otherwise, if it's a do as I say, not as I do, you're just going to undermine the entire thing. So really, really important to point out, if you're going to go this route, which you're going to have to if you want to be successful, don't be a hypocrite. Walk your talk when it comes to exemplifying your core values. And if you make a mistake, come outright with it, which is another one of our core values, which is progress over perfection. And I'm the first one to point out as the leader when I make a mistake, because I want to give people permission to feel like it's a safe environment. So that's another thing as well. Don't be a hypocrite. Okay, so we've attracted the right people into your Viking ship. You've got a system for doing that. And so now when you go to sleep at night in your Viking ship, you can rest assured people aren't going to steal from you. You don't have to look over your shoulder. You've got great people. They've got integrity. Your next problem is, how do you get them into the right seats, doing the right things at the right time? And so getting back to that results-only working environment, that's one of the areas, because when you have people that are on the same page when it comes to we're going to be measuring, it's a much healthier environment because you've already established this is something that we value as a company and as a culture. And so how do you get people pulling on those oars? Well, you measure progress company-wide, so 30,000 foot view, what's your revenue, what's your profitability, what's your cash flow, but also departmentally, what does healthy look like? And we're going to measure it, and we're transparent about that. And so that's how you can ensure that, not only are people sitting in the seats, but everybody's pulling on the oar and contributing. We don't value busyness, we value results. And so that's how you get, we've established ownership. So you're in that seat, you own it, and we're going to measure it. So that means that we're going to be looking at, are you pulling on the oar, or are you just sitting there kind of pretending to be pulling on an oar? So we're going to measure it. So now you've established that, people are in the right seats, they're pulling on the oar. Next is everyone going in the right direction, the same direction. So for that, we establish what's our vision, what's our mission, where are we headed, in other words. And so for us, we want to be in the industries that we serve, just like Amazon, Jeff Bezos, we want to be ultimately the most client-centric out there. So that as customer needs change and evolve, we want to be there one chapter ahead, always thinking about them, even anticipating problems that they don't know they have. And so that's the direction that we're headed. And then how do we ensure that we're moving in that direction? Well, each quarter we establish targets that everybody says, okay, here's our play for the next 90 days. Break huddle. Now we're going to track it week over week. That's how we get the boat facing the right direction and get everybody's in the right seats, everybody's pulling on the oar, and everybody's calibrated based on our North Star, so our mission, our vision, and we know that we're making progress because we measure it every 90 days. And so you see how this makes sense when you have a framework, rather than me just telling you about, measuring stuff and core values. If you think about the analogy of a Viking ship, where you got to attract the right people, you got to get them into the right seats, you got to give everybody an oar and make sure that they're pulling on that oar, you got to make sure that we're facing the right direction, you got to make sure that we're making progress. So if you think in this framework, it makes sense in terms of the systems that you need to build around you. And when you do that, so for me, when I was able to, I started building out that Viking ship structure for me. And that's how ultimately we were able to make the move in February of this year to Vancouver Island. So we now run our business remotely from Vancouver Island, 75-minute plane ride, all because of this framework that I've been assembling over the last, close to a decade now, with this in mind, that having ultimately a business that can thrive with or without you, which is the ultimate goal, I think, and should be for any entrepreneur. It's almost a moral obligation if you think about your family, your kids, your employees. If everything has to go through you, I think for people that are afraid to let go, it's almost an ego-driven thing. Like, oh, this thing could not survive without me. I'm Mr. or Miss All Important. This thing lives or dies on my shoulders. And I think it's almost a lesson in personal growth, putting your ego aside to say, like, you know what? if this thing can thrive and run without me, and I can find people that are smarter than me in most of these areas, like my team around me is better than me in 80% of the areas, and I focus on my strengths, and I hire people around me who are just better and smarter in most of the areas that I am not. And I think that's a recipe for success in the long run. And thinking in these terms and putting the ego aside and building a structure that can one day transcend you, it's the responsible thing to do for you. It's going to remove stress and risk from your shoulders, and your employees will benefit, your family will benefit in the long run, and at the end of the day, your business is just going to be worth a lot more. And guess what? Your business is going to be able to grow because it's not going to have to bottleneck through you. And so you're going to be able to take on a lot more growth and transactions and all that good stuff that's going to come with it. So anyways, that's my Viking ship analogy. I hope it's helpful. It's a framework that has served me very, very well. And that's what I base most of my decisions on when it comes to kind of structuring our business. And that's ultimately what our Perfect Week coaching program is based around, transforming your business into that Viking ship. So one day you'll have something that can run and thrive, whether or not you're in the office. So anyways, hope that's helpful. And I'm going to continue my voyage through the mountains here, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Hey, Tim Uchuk here, and real quick, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, if you could take a couple quick seconds to give it a rating, it would be very much appreciated. And secondly, if you're looking for more tools and strategies on how you can crush it in life and business, just head on over to bookwithtim.com, where I've put together a free case study which shows you how to unlock unprecedented freedom today by using the 2 power levers. Just head on over to bookwithtim.com. Until next time, wishing you success and freedom in your business. Cheers.